At the bank. My daughter Lauren pushed a pen at me. Just sign, Mom. Her husband, Marcus, pressed down on my shoulder, hard enough that it hurt. I slipped a note to the teller, help. Not my choice. They both smiled for the security camera. And then, the bank manager locked the door. Everything changed forever. If you're hearing this, hit subscribe and tell me where you're listening from. 3 months ago, I was just Eleanor Hayes. 68. Widowed. Living a quiet life in the same cozy craftsman-style house in Seattle's Capitol Hill where I'd spent over 30 years raising my daughter, making tomato soup from scratch, and drinking tea on rainy afternoons. My days were predictable, and I liked it that way. I had my garden, a tight-knit book club made up of women who'd survived divorce, widowhood, and motherhood, sometimes all three, and my Sunday tradition of writing postcards to my childhood friend Margaret in California. And then came the Tuesday call. Mom? Lauren's voice was syrupy with concern. I've been thinking, we're kind of worried about you. I was on the back porch pruning my hydrangeas. The ones Tom and I planted the year after Lauren was born. I tucked the phone between my ear and shoulder. Worried? About what? Well, you're just alone now. Since Dad, you know. Her voice softened, like I was some delicate animal that might bolt at a loud noise. I'm fine, sweetheart. I promise. I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. Mrs. Abernathy next door checks on me, and I've got my emergency alert bracelet. You know that. Lauren hesitated. I heard a man's voice in the background, Marcus. I couldn't make out the words, but it had the unmistakable tone of someone coaching from the sidelines. That's not really enough anymore, Mom. We just think it's time to make some adjustments. Adjustments. Such a harmless little word. Like fluffing pillows. Rearranging furniture. That Friday, they showed up without calling. Lauren carried grocery bags and a warm smile. Marcus brought coffee and a clipboard. We thought we'd help clean up a little, she said, kissing my cheek. Just some light reorganizing. I frowned. The house is clean. Oh, I know. We just want to make sure everything's safe for you. Marcus didn't wait for an invitation. He walked through my front hall like a man inspecting a property. He tapped the corner of a hallway rug with the toe of his shoe. Trip hazard, he said. Then he eyed the step stool in the kitchen. That's not up to code. Shouldn't be climbing up on things. I've been reaching that top shelf for 30 years, I said, keeping my tone even. Lauren sat down at the table and unpacked hummus, baby carrots, and a stack of printouts, resources for aging safely at home. One had a photo of an elderly woman falling downstairs, frozen mid-scream like a horror movie still. Marcus emerged from the living room, tapping away on his phone. You've got too many electrical cords in there. We should talk about streamlining. I didn't ask for a home inspection, I said, trying to smile. Lauren squeezed my hand. We're just looking out for you, Mom. We want what's best. Before I could answer, Marcus added, next time, we'll bring some paperwork. Might be time to simplify your finances, too. I looked at him, really looked, and something in his eyes made me pause. 2 weeks later, they came back, with Thai food, dessert from that overpriced bakery in Fremont, and a manila folder full of printed legal documents. It was a Thursday evening. I remember because I'd just finished sweeping the back deck, and the air smelled like lavender and burnt leaves. Mom, Lauren said, setting the food on the table like we were settling in for a normal family dinner, we brought something for you to look over. Marcus pulled the folder from under his coat like it was a surprise gift. Just some basic paperwork. I stared at the cover sheet. Durable power of attorney. It's just a precaution, Lauren said. So if something ever happens, God forbid, we can make medical decisions, help with bills, keep things running smoothly. I ran my fingers over the edge of the folder, not opening it. I think I'd rather have James, my lawyer, look these over first. The change in atmosphere was immediate. Marcus's expression didn't shift, not exactly, but his jaw tightened. Lauren's smile dimmed like someone had flipped a switch behind her eyes. Do you not trust us? She asked softly. Of course I trust you, I said quickly. But I also trust contracts about as far as I can throw them. Tom and I always had James review everything. It's just habit. Marcus leaned forward, hands clasped like a therapist pretending to be patient. Eleanor, I work with insurance contracts every day. These are completely standard. Maybe, I replied, opening the folder anyway. Sticky notes flagged every signature line. My name had already been typed in. The wording was heavy, full of phrases like irrevocable authority and executed upon incapacity. It just gives us the ability to help if something ever goes wrong, Lauren said. I looked up at her. You mean if I stop being me? She blinked fast. No. Not like that. Just, in case. The room felt smaller. I closed the folder. Let me take a few days with it. The rest of dinner was quiet. The pad thai was lukewarm. The coconut custard was too sweet. After they left, I poured myself a glass of wine and read every line of those documents under the kitchen light, and I couldn't help but wonder, when did my own daughter start seeing me as a ticking clock? The next morning, I opened my pill organizer, something I did every Friday without fail. Monday's pills were where Thursdays should be. The blood pressure pills were mixed in with my calcium supplements. My vitamin D was missing altogether. I sat there, staring at the little plastic compartments, heart thudding in my chest. Had I made the mistake? Had I done this? Or was someone making it look like I had? I called Lauren, trying not to sound rattled. Oh, Mom, she sighed, this is exactly what we've been worried about. What if you'd taken the wrong pills? What if you'd overdosed? Her concern sounded real. But there was something too ready about it, like the script had been written days ago. After we hung up, I stared at the pill organizer again. I had no memory of rearranging anything. I had no reason to. That night, I walked the house for hours, checking locks, peering into cabinets, wondering if I really was slipping, or if someone was setting me up to fall. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Lauren didn't call. Marcus didn't text, no surprise visits. No, just checking in voice messages. And yet, I couldn't relax. Not in the house I'd lived in for more than 3 decades. I started second-guessing myself. Had I actually mixed up my pills? Had I forgotten to put away the ladder after changing the porch light? I walked the house twice a day, checking for signs of disorder. I even found myself taking photos of my own cabinets and writing down where things were, just in case they got moved. Because something was off. Not just with the house, but with me. And it wasn't confusion. It was doubt, the kind of doubt that crawls under your skin and whispers, maybe they're right. Maybe you are slipping. The final straw came on Sunday morning, while I was enjoying a rare moment of peace in my garden. A warm breeze stirred the lavender. I had just sat down with my tea when Marcus appeared, uninvited, at the gate. He held a cardboard coffee tray and wore that strained, too polite smile that people reserve for old dogs and unpaid interns. I was just in the neighborhood, he said. Capitol Hill is 25 minutes from his office in Bellevue. Lauren asked me to stop by. After the medication thing. He followed me into the kitchen without waiting for an answer. You organizing your meds differently now? He asked casually, opening the cabinet over the sink, the one with my prescriptions. Maybe we should help simplify this too. I don't need help, I said, keeping my voice even. I've been taking the same meds at the same time for 3 years. He didn't respond. Just took out his phone and, without asking, began taking pictures of the pill bottles. What are you doing? Just documenting. He said it like it was the most innocent word in the world. Lauren worries, you know. We just want to make sure things are up to date. For your safety. My safety. That phrase had begun to sound like a threat. You didn't even call before coming, I said. Marcus shrugged. You haven't been answering your phone. That wasn't true. I checked. No missed calls. No texts. He was playing a different game now. A more subtle one. Less conversation, more surveillance. After he left, I called James O'Connor, my lawyer. My voice shook more than I expected. James, I need you to review some documents Lauren and Marcus brought me. Power of attorney stuff, but I think I need more than a legal review. A pause. Do you feel threatened, Eleanor? I feel watched. Controlled. Cornered. He exhaled. I want you to come in tomorrow morning. Bring everything. And Eleanor, don't sign anything. That night, I stood in front of the hallway mirror, studying myself. The silver in my hair was new, yes. But my eyes were still clear. My mind still sharp. This wasn't decline. This was awakening. The next morning, Lauren called. We're coming over next weekend, she said brightly. Marcus has more documents for you to review. We'll bring bagels. Bagels. Like a bribe with cream cheese. I smiled into the phone, and quietly called my lawyer's emergency line. They arrived at 9 a.m. sharp. Lauren in a crisp navy cardigan, holding a bag of everything bagels from that cafe I used to love before all this began. Marcus wore his usual business casual uniform, blazer, slacks, clipboard mind. Morning, Mom. Lauren chirped. She was trying too hard. I could always tell when she was overcompensating. She smiled too much and blinked too fast. Hope you're hungry, she added, walking in like she still lived here. I forced a smile. Always. While she set up breakfast in the kitchen, Marcus placed a slim leather folder on the dining table with theatrical precision. We brought something a little simpler this time, he said, like we were picking wedding invitations. No power of attorney today, just some basic banking forms. I said nothing. Just watched. Lauren poured coffee like it was a gesture of peace. We know the legal stuff was a bit much last time, she said gently. But this is easy. Just adding us as joint holders on your bank accounts. That's all. For convenience. Emergencies. Joint holders? I asked. Technically, yes, Marcus said. It just means we can help manage things if something ever goes wrong. You'll still have full access, of course. But I knew the difference between access and control. Joint holders could move money, close accounts, redirect investments, all without my knowledge. Why would you need to do that? Marcus smiled. You know, just in case. If you were hospitalized. Or incapacitated. Bills still need paying. Things need managing. I already use online banking. AutoPay handles most of it. They exchanged one of their silent married couple looks. Marcus opened the folder. The paperwork was already pre-filled. Sticky notes marked every signature line. My name in bold font. Notarization scheduled. We thought ahead, Marcus said, casually checking his watch. My colleague Mike is a licensed notary. He's meeting us at the First National Branch in 30 minutes. Lauren touched my arm. It's no pressure, Mom. We just want what's best for you. No pressure, I repeated softly. But everything, the documents, the breakfast, the schedule, the notary, said otherwise. This wasn't a suggestion. It was a strategy. All right, I said finally, let's go. The drive to the bank was filled with weather talk and shallow jokes. They were giddy, like two people who knew the game was already won. First National's Capitol Hill branch was quiet that morning. Mike, the notary, stood in the lobby in an expensive suit and a too-white smile. I recognized the type, practiced charm, no conscience. Mrs. Hayes, he said, shaking my hand. Just a quick formality. We were escorted into a private office. A quiet woman in her 40s greeted us. She wore a name tag, Linda Park, branch manager. She scanned the documents and looked at me. Mrs. Hayes, do you understand that joint account holders have full access to your funds, including the ability to withdraw, transfer, and close accounts? Before I could speak, Lauren jumped in. Yes, she understands. We've explained everything. But Linda didn't look at Lauren. She kept her eyes on me. I need to hear it from Mrs. Hayes herself. Marcus leaned over and whispered, "Just sign, Mom. It's fine." I could feel his hand pressing into my shoulder again. That same forceful, too familiar grip. I reached into my purse and pulled out a deposit slip. Quickly, I scribbled 4 words on the back with the pen Lauren had given me: help. Not my choice. Then, casually, I slid it underneath the stack of documents and passed it to the young teller named Chloe, who had come in to process the account change. She glanced at it, paused, then nodded slightly and walked away with the papers. Moments later, I heard a soft click as Linda Park locked the bank's front door. Lauren didn't notice. Marcus just smiled at the camera. But I knew something had just shifted. Finally, someone else had seen me. The atmosphere in the bank changed the moment Chloe walked away with that slip of paper. Not with Lauren and Marcus, they were still laughing about something superficial, like which brunch place was overrated on Capitol Hill. But something behind the scenes had shifted. I could feel it in the quiet pause. The soft locking sound from the main entrance. The way Chloe didn't come back right away. Then came Linda Park. She returned to the private office alone, her face calm, unreadable. A bank manager's mask, but her eyes flicked to me quickly, and in them I saw something sharp. "Mrs. Hayes," she said, "may I speak with you privately for a moment?" Marcus straightened. "We're handling this as a family." Linda kept her gaze level. "Of course. But per our banking protocol, any significant changes to account structure require a private conversation with the primary account holder. For fraud prevention purposes." Lauren smiled tightly, trying to maintain the illusion of ease. "Sure. Of course. We understand." Linda led me out of the office and into a small side room with frosted windows. She didn't sit behind the desk, she sat beside me. She lowered her voice. "I received your note, Mrs. Hayes. Are you being coerced into signing these documents?" My throat went dry. I swallowed hard. "Yes," I whispered. "They've been pressuring me for weeks. I didn't want to come here. I didn't want to sign anything." Linda nodded, as if she'd expected it. "You seem completely clear-headed to me," she said. "I need to ask you again, for the record, are you aware that what they're asking you to sign gives them full control over your bank accounts?" "I am." "And do you feel safe today?" "I feel watched." Linda exhaled slowly. "Here's what I can do," she said. "We'll proceed with the paperwork, for appearances, but I'll add internal monitoring flags. Anything unusual, large transfers, withdrawals, or changes, will alert me personally. I'm also documenting your statement as suspected financial coercion." I stared at her. "Will that be enough to stop them?" "No," she said carefully. "But it will give you time. And leverage." She paused. "And, Mrs. Hayes, I'm going to record this signing for our internal system, just in case this escalates. Is that all right with you?" I nodded. "Yes. Please." She stood and opened the door. "Thank you for your patience," she said loudly. Marcus and Lauren looked up, all smiles. "Everything's good?" Lauren asked. "Just needed to verify a few details," Linda replied, already setting up the paperwork in front of me. The camera on her desk blinked on with a small green light. Lauren slid the pen into my hand. "Let's get this over with, Mom. It's just a signature." I stared down at the paper. My name. Their names. The words, "Joint Account Holder Authorization." "Go ahead," Marcus said smoothly, stepping just a little too close. His hand rested on my shoulder again. Just like before. This time I didn't flinch. I signed. Slowly. Clearly. On camera. Linda said nothing. She stamped the forms and passed them to Mike, the notary, who began preparing his seal. But I saw her glance at the camera, just once, and then at me. A slight nod. Subtle. Steady. They thought they'd won. But we were already building the case that would break them. And this camera? This wasn't just a recording. It was evidence. The moment we stepped outside the bank, the air felt different. Crisper. Sharper. Maybe it was just Seattle's October chill finally settling in, or maybe it was the weight of what had just happened finally lifting off my chest, just a little. Lauren looped her arm through mine as we walked toward the parking lot. "I'm so proud of you, Mom," she said. "This is going to make things so much easier." Easier for who? Behind us, Marcus walked with a pep in his step, flipping through his phone with the satisfaction of someone who'd just closed a lucrative deal. They talked the entire drive home, about organizing my paperwork, consolidating my credit cards, setting up a digital filing system so I wouldn't have to worry. I sat silently in the back seat, listening, watching them talk about me like a project already underway. Not a person. Just a system that needed simplifying. When we reached the house, Lauren gave me a long hug. "Doesn't that feel better?" she asked. I forced a nod. "Sure." Marcus stayed behind as Lauren wrangled the kids into their SUV. He stepped back into my entryway and lowered his voice. "Look, Eleanor, I know this hasn't been easy for you. Change never is. But you'll thank us later." He gave me a little wink, like we were co-conspirators in something noble. I watched them drive off, then closed the door and locked it, both the knob and the deadbolt. Then I went straight to the kitchen, pulled out my phone, and called James. "They had me sign," I said quietly. "But I passed a note. The bank's manager, Linda Park, she saw it. She recorded the whole thing. She's flagging everything." James didn't answer right away. "Finally, that's smart. Braver than I expected, Eleanor, but it means we have to move fast." "They think they've won," I said. "Then let's let them keep thinking that, just for a little longer." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept walking from room to room, checking windows, rereading the bank documents, watching the clock. At 10:17 p.m. I logged into my online banking. And there it was. A $5,000 transfer to an unfamiliar checking account, labeled only JA Household Support. The initials stood for joint account, I guessed. But it might as well have stood for justified abuse. It had begun. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. They didn't wait even one full day. They'd tasted access. Now, they were going to swallow everything. The next morning, James O'Connor had already left me a voicemail. "Call me the moment you're awake. We're locking this down." I didn't even wait for coffee. I called him from my front porch, wrapped in a shawl, still half in pajamas. "They moved $5,000 last night," I said. He sighed, as if he had expected it but still hated hearing it. "That's theft," he said. "But more importantly, it proves our case. They used joint access within hours of coercing you to sign. That tells the court exactly what kind of guardians they plan to be." By noon, I was in his office. James had already drafted a strategy. "Here's what we're doing," he said, spreading documents across his heavy oak desk. "We establish a revocable living trust, everything goes into it. House, retirement accounts, investments, everything. And only you control it." He pointed to another set of documents. "Then, we create a durable power of attorney, but you appoint me as your backup, not them. Someone with no personal interest in your estate." He looked up. "If they escalate, and I believe they will, we'll be ready." He was right. Because they didn't even wait 48 hours to launch the next phase of their plan. That evening, I received a text from Lauren. "Hey Mom. Hope you're resting after all the stress. We found something that could be a great fit for you. Just checking in." I didn't respond. I wanted to see what she meant by great fit. An hour later, she called. "Hi, Mom. So Marcus and I found the most beautiful assisted living community. It's called Greenwood Haven. They have medical care, activities, housekeeping. It's like a resort. You'd love it. I'm not moving, I said calmly. You haven't even seen it, she said quickly. Just a tour. No pressure. But we're putting down a deposit tomorrow to hold your spot. It's too perfect to lose. I haven't agreed to that. She laughed, but it didn't sound warm. Mom. Let's be realistic. After the mix-up with your meds and the banking stress. I mean, we're just trying to help. That word again. Help. I wanted to scream. But instead, I said what James had coached me to say, thanks, Lauren. I'll think about it. She paused, surprised, maybe. But satisfied. Good, I'll send you the brochure. She didn't send me a brochure. She sent me a message with the payment receipt. They had already put down $10,000, using my money. The brochure came, but not as a brochure. Not a glossy pamphlet with smiling nurses and staged breakfast buffets. Instead, it was a PDF titled Greenwood Haven Intake Packet, forwarded to me by Lauren with a cheerful subject line, Your New Chapter. Inside? A checklist of items to bring. Clothing recommendations. Insurance forms. Room assignment, already selected. Deposit paid, $10,000. By me. I read the email 4 times. Not once did it ask what I wanted. I called James immediately. They've paid the deposit? He asked. From the joint account. Without my consent. That's the second documented theft. We're building momentum, Eleanor. But they're accelerating their timeline. How fast could they try to move me? Fast, he said grimly. Once they get you into a facility, it becomes exponentially harder to regain control. Especially if they begin arguing you're confused or emotionally unstable. He paused. We need to move now. Are you packed? I wasn't. But I packed that night. Just the essentials, medications, personal records, a week's worth of clothes. I left behind the heavy things. My husband's books. My garden gloves. The knitted blanket Lauren made in high school, which I no longer trusted to comfort me. I double-checked every window, every lock. Just after 9 p.m. I heard a car pull into the driveway. I peeked through the peephole. Marcus. And he wasn't alone. 2 men stood with him. One had a clipboard. The other wore a windbreaker that read Sunset Transport Services. A private elder relocation company. I didn't open the door. They rang. Knock, rang again. Then Marcus raised his voice, calm, polite, terrifying. Eleanor, we know you're in there. We just want to talk. We need to get you settled. It's for your health. I called James. He answered on the second ring. They're here, I whispered. They brought people. Stay calm. Don't open the door. I'm calling the police and I want you to leave, now. I've arranged for you to stay at my guest house. The keys are in the lockbox at the side entrance. I don't want to run, I said, my voice trembling. You're not running, he said. You're protecting yourself. There's a difference. I hung up and stared at my packed bag. My house was no longer mine. They weren't coming to help. They were coming to take me. Thursday morning. Rain streaked the windows of First National's Capitol Hill branch. Seattle doing what it does best, washing everything clean in quiet gray layers. But I wasn't here for clean. I was here to burn everything down, legally, precisely, and permanently. James walked beside me in a dark suit that matched his mood. His briefcase held the tools of battle, restraining order, court order to freeze accounts, transfer paperwork for my assets into a protected trust. Linda Park was already waiting at the front entrance, composed as ever, her security badge visible for effect. She nodded to us once, briskly, and unlocked the door. Inside, everything was too still. Then they arrived. Lauren and Marcus stepped in, just behind us, like they hadn't gotten the memo that the roles had changed. Marcus wore confidence like a suit. Lauren's smile was tight, rehearsed, careful. "Hi, Mom," she said. "Everything okay?" "Not yet," I replied. We were ushered into a large conference room, bigger than the one last time. A glass table. A mounted monitor. A uniformed officer stood quietly in the corner, watching everything. "Thank you all for coming," James began smoothly. "We're here today to execute several legal directives regarding Mrs. Eleanor Hayes' estate, financial safety, and personal protection." Marcus frowned. "What the hell is this?" James opened his folder and slid the first paper across the table. "A court order freezing all joint access to Mrs. Hayes' accounts, effective immediately. Any attempt to access, transfer, or modify these accounts from this moment forward will result in felony charges under Washington state elder protection law." Lauren blinked. "Wait, what?" Marcus reached for the papers, scanning them quickly. "This is insane," he snapped. "She signed those account forms willingly." "No," James replied calmly. "She signed them under documented coercion, as recorded by this branch's security system." Including a note she slipped to a bank employee asking for help, and the video of you pressing down on her shoulder while she signed. Linda stepped forward and slid a flash drive across the table. "This contains the footage. Including audio." Marcus paled. Lauren's voice cracked. "Mom, you didn't." I met her eyes. "When did I stop being your mother, Lauren?" I asked quietly. "When did I become your ATM?" Lauren's hand shook. "That's not fair. We were trying to help." "You transferred $23,000 from my accounts," I said. "Without asking. Without permission. To pay for a facility I never agreed to enter." "We thought," she started. "No," I cut in. "You didn't think. You planned. You cornered me. You made decisions for me, not with me. That's not help. That's control." Marcus stood up, voice rising. "She's confused. Look at this. She's being manipulated. She doesn't know what she's doing." James raised a hand. "Careful, Mr. Reed. You're under investigation for elder financial abuse. I'd suggest you sit down before you make it worse." The officer stepped slightly closer. Lauren looked like she might cry. "Mom, we're your family. We just wanted you safe. You wanted me quiet. You wanted me easy," I said, standing up. "But I'm not either of those things anymore." And this time, the only signature on the table was mine, reclaiming everything they tried to steal. It's strange how quiet the world gets when the noise of control disappears. After weeks of constant texts, surprise drop-ins, judgmental coffee visits, and weaponized concern, suddenly, there was nothing. No more just checking in voicemails. No more Marcus with his clipboard of obligations. No more Lauren slipping in reassurances like poison in tea. My phone stayed blessedly still. My home was mine again. And the quiet felt like something sacred. For the first time in months, I stood barefoot in my backyard garden and let the rain soak into my skin without wondering who was watching. I pruned the climbing roses Tom had planted for our 30th anniversary. I sat in the kitchen with real silence, not the silence of tension, but the silence of choice. But as that silence settled, something else arrived. Grief. Not for my independence, that was intact. But for the idea of my daughter, the version of Lauren I'd loved for so many years, the one who used to bring me daisy chains from the yard and curl up next to me during thunderstorms. I missed her. The woman who replaced her. I wasn't sure I recognized. That weekend, my book club met at Mrs. Wilson's house. We drank chamomile tea and discussed a novel about a woman who fakes her own death to escape her family. It was meant to be fiction. But when the conversation turned personal, the real stories started to spill. "My son tried to get me to sell my house," Mrs. Patterson whispered, "said it was too big for someone my age. He had buyers lined up before I even said yes. My niece told her mom she wasn't safe living alone after she burned a casserole, added Helen. Tried to put her in a memory care facility. All because she forgot one-timer. The room went quiet. The realization hung in the air. This wasn't rare. This wasn't extreme. This was normal, for us. For women of a certain age, with too much wisdom and too much wealth for anyone else's comfort. I left that meeting with something I hadn't felt in weeks, connection. Not just to others, but to myself. That night, I sat on my porch with a glass of wine. The sky was navy blue and soft at the edges. The kind of sky that made you believe in new beginnings. And then my phone buzzed. Voicemail. Lauren. I stared at the notification for several minutes before pressing play. Hi Mom. I don't know what to say. I know you're mad. I know you feel betrayed. I guess, maybe you were. A pause. But the kids miss you. They ask about you every day. Emma's science fair is next weekend. She's building a working volcano. Jake and Josh just started piano lessons. Please call me. Please. We miss you. I sat in the dark, listening to the voice of the daughter I used to know, now reduced to static and sadness. She missed me. But what she really missed was the version of me she could control. I listened to Lauren's voicemail twice. The first time, I let it wash over me, the sadness in her voice, the calculated vulnerability, the hints of guilt woven into carefully chosen words. The second time, I heard it clearly for what it was, another tactic. A shift in tone, not in behavior. A strategy dressed in sentiment, but the part that pierced me, truly cut through all my defenses, was one name. Emma. I hadn't seen my granddaughter's face in weeks. Hadn't heard Jake's piano practice ramblings or watched Josh try to hide vegetables under the table at dinner. They were still mine. Still innocent. Still worth protecting, even from their own parents. So I made a decision. That night, I called Lauren. She answered on the second ring. Mom? I want to see the kids, I said without hesitation. Yes. Oh, thank God. We've missed. Alone, I interrupted. Just me and them. No you. No Marcus. A pause. I don't think that's a good idea. Those are my terms. Saturday. 2 hours. Laurelhurst Park. Drop them off at 2 o'clock. Pick them up at 4 o'clock. Mom, that's not how family. That's how this works now, Lauren. Take it or leave it. A long silence. Then, okay. We'll be there. Saturday arrived with golden October light spilling through the trees. Seattle in its rarest, most beautiful form. I arrived early, picnic basket in hand, seating blanket in tow, and a small digital recorder tucked discreetly in my jacket pocket, just in case. 2 p.m. sharp, their SUV rolled into the lot. The kids ran toward me like they hadn't seen me in years, arms open, eyes bright, voices filled with stories waiting to burst out. Grandma. Emma wrapped me in a tight hug. Mom said you were sick, she whispered. But you don't look sick. I smiled. That's because I'm not. For the first hour, it was magic. Emma told me about her volcano project. Jake recited piano scales he had memorized. Josh asked if he could have ice cream for dinner one day when he's an adult. Normal, beautiful chaos. But just as I opened the juice boxes I'd packed, a shadow fell over our table. Lauren. And behind her, Marcus. Uninvited. Unwelcome. Unmoved. Hey, Mom, Lauren said, too casually. We thought we'd hang nearby. Didn't want to leave you alone with all three. I stood slowly, placing myself between them and the children. I told you the terms. Lauren's smile faltered. We're just concerned. Concerned is what you say, I said softly. Control is what you do. Marcus folded his arms. You're making this unnecessarily difficult. No, I said. I'm making it fair. He took a step forward. There are kids. We have every right, and I have every right to set boundaries, I said calmly. If you can't respect them, you don't get to be a part of this. Lauren's smile collapsed completely. Marcus's jaw twitched. But behind them, Emma's face was confused. Jake's lip trembled. And I knew the next battle wasn't with the parents. It was with the story they'd tell their children about who I was. They didn't leave. Even after I reminded them. Even after I stood firm in front of their carefully curated concern. Marcus hovered by a nearby tree, arms crossed, sunglasses on, like some suburban sentry. Lauren sat on a bench across the path, pretending to scroll through her phone, but I could feel her watching me with every blink. I knew what they were doing. They weren't staying to protect the kids. They were staying to monitor me. To gather ammunition. To make sure I didn't confuse the children or say anything that could make them look bad. But what they didn't know was that I was recording them. The device in my jacket pocket had a simple red light. Blinking steadily. Quietly. James had suggested it. Just in case they try to twist the narrative, he'd said, let them speak freely, but let you be the one holding the record. And they didn't disappoint. Halfway through the visit, Lauren approached again, smiling like we were just catching up over brunch. Mom, she said sweetly, don't you think this is a little extreme? I glanced at the children. Emma was showing Jake how to build a leaf crown. Josh was chasing a squirrel. All perfectly happy. What's extreme? I asked. Cutting us off. Setting rules. Making this tense. It's not like you. Not like me? I repeated. Or not like the version of me who didn't push back. Lauren's expression cracked for half a second before she recovered. We were scared, she said. You seemed confused. The medication thing. You mean the medication you rearranged? I said softly. Her eyes widened. Just a flicker. But I saw it. Mom. Lauren, I need to know. Was it you or Marcus who moved my pills? She didn't answer. I thought so. Just then, Marcus stepped in, voice sharp. This is getting ridiculous, Eleanor. You're treating us like criminals. If the theft fits, I replied. We didn't steal anything. That money was for your care, for a facility I didn't choose, with money I didn't approve, on paperwork I was pressured to sign, while being physically touched without consent. Want me to replay the bank footage? Lauren flushed. Marcus growled, this victim act is getting old. There it was. The moment he stopped pretending. The mask slipped. And I knew I had him. You just proved my point, Marcus, I said calmly, tapping my jacket. Thank you. What? I've been recording this entire conversation. He stepped back. You can't. Yes, I can. This is a public space, and you've just admitted to controlling behavior, financial manipulation, and verbal intimidation, all in front of your kids. Lauren finally snapped. Why are you doing this to our family? I'm not, I said. You are. I'm just not letting you get away with it anymore. I turned to the kids. Emma stood still now. Watching. Holding Josh's hand. Sweethearts, I said gently, I love you so much. You can always call me. You can always find me. But I won't be seeing your parents again until they learn to treat me with respect. Emma's lip quivered. Are you mad at us? I crouched to her level, my voice steady. Never. This isn't your fault. None of it is. You just remember one thing, people who love you don't control you. Not even if they say it's for your own good. And with that, I walked away. Past the playground. Past the frozen smiles of Lauren and Marcus. Past the fear they tried to plant in me. And for the first time in a long time, I walked like someone no one could stop. 6 months. That's how long it took for silence to shift into something else. Not another voicemail. Not a surprise visit. A letter. An honest-to-God, handwritten letter in a soft blue envelope with my name in Lauren's familiar script, the one she used on birthday cards when she still meant them. I stared at it on my kitchen counter for hours before I opened it. I wasn't afraid of what it might say. I was afraid of what it might not. No apology. No ownership. No change. But when I finally unfolded the stationery, I knew, almost instantly, this was different. Dear Mom, I don't know where to start. I've rewritten this letter 5 times. Burned 2 drafts in our fire pit. I think I needed to let go of the version of me who thought this was about helping you. Dr. Williams, my therapist, says I've been trying to control things because I've been terrified of losing people I love. I didn't know that fear could look so much like cruelty. I convinced myself that what I was doing was love. That helping you meant taking over. That protecting you meant deciding for you. But the truth is, I was scared. Scared of you dying. Scared of you disappearing. Scared of something happening that I couldn't prevent. And instead of talking to you, I tried to take you apart, piece by piece. Until all that was left was a version of you that was easier to manage. I see that now. And I hate it. I paused reading there, the lines blurry from something other than age. The letter continued. I don't expect you to forgive me. I wouldn't, if I were you. But I want you to know that I'm trying to become someone who earns forgiveness. Not demands it. I'm not asking for anything. Not access. Not visits. Not holidays. I just want you to know, I see what I did. I see you. And I am sorry. I want to become the daughter you deserve, not the one who tried to make you into the mother I wanted you to be. Love, Lauren. I read it twice. Then I folded it carefully and placed it in my drawer beside the good silver. I didn't call her. I didn't text back. Because I didn't owe her trust just because she finally found her truth. But I felt something I hadn't felt in over a year. Hope. Hope that maybe she was still in there, the daughter I once knew. Hope that maybe one day I'd see her again, not as a threat, but as a woman brave enough to admit she was wrong, and strong enough to mean it. I never set out to be a cautionary tale. Or an example. Or a rallying cry for women in their 60s with gray roots and sharper minds than anyone gives them credit for. But then again, none of us do. We don't ask to be underestimated. We don't volunteer for betrayal. And we certainly don't sign up to be rewritten as frail by the very children we raised. Yet here I am. My name is Eleanor Hayes. I'm 68 years old. And I am no one's liability. That fall, after everything, the frozen accounts, the restraining orders, the confrontation at the park, I finally found peace.